Natasha Romanoff said, "Damn it, I hope I don't regret this," and Natasha Romanoff opened up Loki's prison cell and Loki held his hands up nervously and he moved cautiously walking as Natasha Romanoff held a gun on him, and then Natasha Romanoff said, "Go get out of here," and then Loki took off running really fast to find a way to escape, and then Loki said, "I must hurry and get back there before that blue winch kills the only woman I've ever loved." And then when I brought Jean Grey back with me to the big shield helicarrier, my sister Jean Grey asked me, "Where is Loki? Is he here, big brother?" And then I said, "Yes, little sister, he should be in his prison cell." And then the Famke Janssen look-alike said, "Please take me to him." And then I had an angry look on my face and I said, "No, he's escaped the helicarrier." And then meanwhile Loki said, "I have to find the scepter and tesseract." And then Loki used his magic to find everything and he found Bruce Banner guarding the tesseract and the scepter, and then Loki used his illusion magic to trick Bruce Banner, and then Loki used the scepter on Bruce Banner making him transform into the Hulk. And then my wife Natasha Romanoff found Bruce Banner close to hulking out, and unlike the original storyline, my wife in this version of Black Widow was not defenseless against a monster like the Hulk, so she tried to talk to Bruce Banner and calm him down first, and then Natasha Romanoff said, "Take it easy, Hulk." And then Hulk said, "You know Hulk, pretty lady." And then Natasha Romanoff said, "Yes, I know Hulk, could you please not hurt me? I'm Natasha Romanoff." She said, "Me friend," to Hulk. Natasha said to the Hulk, and then Natasha Romanoff asked Hulk, "Are you being controlled by Loki?" And then Hulk said, "No, that's puny Banner, not Hulk, Hulk strong," Hulk said, and he beat on his chest. And then Thor came in and he said, "You get away from her, you big green beast." And then Hulk said loudly, "You little man, leave pretty lady alone, she Hulk friend, not you." And then Thor asked Natasha, "What the hell is going on here? I didn't even know the Hulk could talk." And then Hulk roared and said, "Hey, you little man with tiny hammer, Hulk no like you." And then Natasha said, "Thor, I think you should leave because you're making him nervous." And then Thor said, "You're making him nervous, I don't know what the hell is going on here," Thor said. And then Natasha Romanoff said, "I think I got through to him somehow." And then Natasha Romanoff said, "Hulk, can you help us?" And then Hulk said, "Me help pretty lady, but me no help little man with tiny hammer." Hulk no like him. Hulk say, "Little man with tiny hammer, stay here." And then Natasha Romanoff said, "Good Thor, you stay here." And then Natasha Romanoff said, "Hulk, follow me please." And then Hulk ran behind Natasha Romanoff and this time they teamed up, and then Thor said, "Screw this, I'm not staying here." And then Thor said, "Hey Natasha, I have to retrieve Loki, I can't stay here." And then Thor ran up to Natasha Romanoff and Hulk, and then Hulk growled and snarled and he said, "Hulk no like you, go away little man." And then Thor said, "Thor no like you either, you big idiot." And then Hulk punched Thor and it knocked Thor down, but Thor got back up and punched Hulk, and now we got the classic Hulk and Thor battle like in the original storyline of the Avengers, and this time the Hulk couldn't hurt Thor, but he's still bigger than Thor so he was able to knock him around. But eventually Thor got annoyed with the Hulk and he stopped holding back so much, and then he finally used his hammer to knock out the Hulk, and just like in the original storyline, Hulk fell down to earth after Thor opened up the hangar doors, and when Hulk landed on the ground he calmed down, and then I teleported in front of Hulk and I touched Hulk on his chest with my hand and I gained his powers, and I also broke his connection and mind control to Loki's scepter. And then the rest of the Avengers story played out like the original storyline, except I didn't let Agent Phil Coulson die, I saved his life and I brought the Avengers together and I became the glue that held the team together, and then I retrieved Hawkeye and I broke his connection to the scepter. And yes, Captain America called out Tony Stark and he insulted the same way, saying he's not the guy to make the sacrifice play, you wouldn't lay down on the grenade or landmine to save a life. And then Tony Stark said, "I would just disarm the grenade or the landmine." And then during the Battle of New York against the Chitauri invasion, I managed to save everyone in the city and I made sure that no innocent people were accidentally killed by the Hulk or someone else. And this time when Tony Stark sacrificed himself to stop the nuke, he decided to do it without his suit because he thought he was going to die, so he used his perfect sentry powers instead, and it was the first time he ever faced his fears without his suit. And then Tony Stark noticed and I said, "I'll be damned, I can breathe in space," and then he threw the nuke at the spaceship.